morning, everybody, and a happy Saturday morning to you. A big thank you to Duchess Katerina Farkle on Twitter for the thumbnail you're looking at. There's a lot in here. You guys are just not going to believe it. A lot of Harry, Meghan stuff and some royal family stuff. So let's just jump in and get busy, shall we? Let's go. We're going to start off this morning. This is rather interesting. You know, Queen Elizabeth had the most beautiful Norman Hartnell coronation gown. Well, apparently she demanded the floral emblems of the Commonwealth nations be added onto the dress with the silver and gold embroidery with colored silks. And of course, this gave the gown a powerful symbol of global unity during that coronation in 1953. The initial sketches had her in a purely white, ethereal silver design that only used pearls and crystals, but the Queen insisted on integrating some color and the exact botanical representations of Commonwealth states because it was reflecting her role as head of the evolving Commonwealth. I love that. Had the Canadian maple leaf, the Indian lotus, alongside traditional UK things like the Tudor rose, the thistle, the shamrock. That was a beautiful dress. Let's move on to Lieutenant Colonel Johnny Thompson. We know he's one of King Charles's most trusted senior staff, and we know he recently got married. His new wife's name is Olivia. Well, apparently she was pregnant and had a baby. Nobody even knew. They named the little girl Theodora. That happened on May 20th. The news was announced on the birth section of the Times, and it reads, Thompson on 20th May 2026 to Olivia and Lieutenant Colonel Johnny, a daughter, Theodora. How wonderful is that? Now, he married her. She's a PR executive. She's also the daughter of the former communications secretary to Queen Elizabeth, Simon Lewis, in May of 2025, after they got engaged in October of 2024. Congratulations. All right, let's move on now to the wedding again of Harriet Spurling and Peter Phillips. There's a lot of speculation as to whether she is going to wear a tiara. And these are some thoughts. Number one, the ceremony is at All Saints Church, and it's expected to be an intimate, family-focused affair. And since it's a second marriage for Peter Phillips, it is anticipated that Miss Sterling will opt for some understated jewelry. Now, Queen Camilla set a modern precedent for royal second weddings when she went without a tiara in 2005. So should she choose to wear a headpiece, she'll probably take something from Princess Anne's private collection. There are some strong contenders like their festoon tiara. This was worn by Autumn Kelly during the first wedding to Peter Phillips. Or you have the meander tiara that she gave to Zara Phillips when she got married in 2011. So I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And talking about the wedding, we know that Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie were invited, but apparently they've taken a U-turn, it's being reported, and that they will no longer be attending the wedding. That this is going on because their father is back in the headlines with the Thames Valley Police saying that they're investigating him again, and that this has been an ongoing issue for suspicion of misconduct in public office. They don't want to overshadow the day, which I think is nice, but I do think that they should attend the wedding. That's just my personal opinion. I would go if I were them. Let's move on. This is really cool. King Charles is going to unveil his newly imagined Venus garden at Windsor Castle this summer, inspired by the planet Venus's petal-shaped 8-year orbital cycle. This is a biodiverse and geometrically patterned oasis that you can visit from July 16th to September 13th. It was an 18-month transformation. It is the East Terrace Garden. So the pathways and flower beds mirror the pentagram of Venus or the Rose of Venus. It's a 5-petaled floral shape created when Venus traces its orbit around the sun. And there's mixed perennials, roses, and about 11,000 spring bulbs to provide seasonal color. And it also introduces wildflower meadows to support biodiversity and attract wildlife. All right, let's talk about Eton College really quickly. There's going to be a leadership transition. The headmaster is stepping down next year. And so there's a lot of speculation about who's going to be his successor. And of course, this is happening right as they're trying to decide Prince George's secondary schooling, because they're getting ready to have to make that decision in September. And we know that William attended Eton. We've heard that Wolfie is going to be attended Eton. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Let's continue. Let's move on now to Duchess Sophie. She visited the Waitrose farm on the historic Leckford estate in her role as honorary president of Linking Environment and Farming, which is LEAF, and she helped them prepare for the annual Open Farm Sunday. That's a nationwide community initiative that invites the public to learn about sustainable food production, soil health, and nature. And so she toured the commercial farm and she spoke with some of the agricultural professionals about climate positive farming, and she highlighted the importance of connecting the public with the origins of their food. Very nice. This place that she went to is actually a working farm in Stockbridge, and they are gearing up to welcome the public. Now, this is an annual thing that they do, and this actually is their 20th anniversary this year. So for those in the area, they're opening up on the 7th. I think that's the sort of thing I would go to if I lived there. A big thank you to Remoulade Sauce and to Carol M. for showing us what Sophie was wearing on this particular occasion. Let's move on. Next up, we have the Duke of Gloucester. You guys remember I showed you that he opened up the Apple Tree 3A at the Young Men's Christian Association, the YMCA, on the 13th of May. I showed you that in Cornwall. Well, he sent out a lovely message of appreciation. Move on to a very interesting bit of information. You guys remember they took Frogmore Cottage, which had been offices, and Harry and Meghan did this like massive Soho refurbishment to it for like $3 million. Okay. So the makeover was initially paid for by the Sovereign Grant, which is the government's taxpayer-fueled fund, and it covers royal activities. And Harry and Meghan had to pay it all back once they stepped back from their royal roles in 2020. Well, the house has basically been sitting empty ever since. Nobody wants it. It needs like, what do you call that? It needs like feng shui. It's got bad juju because Harry and Meghan were in there. So it's been empty now for 3 years, and they're saying that because it used to be 2 semi-detached homes before it was fixed up for Harry and Meghan as a wedding present, they're thinking they're going to subdivide the property or just go ahead and split it again. They were only there from April 2019 to March of 2020. And we also know we've had a few little insights into the house through the Netflix docuseries when Harry and Meghan brought people after they had been told during the Platinum Jubilee not to bring any Netflix cameras or anything onto property. They went ahead and brought the cameras and had these, pictures taken. So basically anything that was movable that Harry and Meghan privately paid for, they took themselves. The fittings, the furnishings, the fixtures, but, curtains, that would be paid separately, paid privately. But the rest of the house is going to be undone. Upgrades that Harry and Meghan wanted, that it was deemed it was too expensive for the public to provide, like the upgraded kitchen, the fitted wardrobe, flooring, a $6,700 copper bathtub, decor by a Soho House engineer, vegan paint, stuff like that. That's stuff that they had to pay for on their own. Now, of course, we know that they kept the house, even though it sat empty most of the time, until the king told them basically get out after Spare was printed. I don't know what Harry and Meghan were expecting. They were going to attack the family and just keep all the free stuff. But yeah, they seem to both be very in that mindset, you owe us thing. You get it? All right, let's move on. All right, we're going to move on to Sky News host Danica. I really like her. Apparently, she did another one of her television rants about Meghan's latest business move, and she pointed out that Meghan was prioritizing money, fame, and fortune after she shared her wedding anniversary photos with Harry on the same day she launched a new candle linked to her As Ever brand. He basically said that Meghan's got no friends left and that these previously unseen romantic pictures from her wedding anniversary celebrations really just points to the rumors that Harry and Meghan's marriage continues to be, going to the point of a breakup. She said, quote, "The manipulator of Monecito is desperate and absolutely throwing everything on the line for money, fame, and fortune." She also accused Meghan of using her relationship with Harry to further her public profile and business ambitions. Well, we already knew that. All right, let's move on. Now, these allegations, we know these are true. Apparently, Harry and Meghan are constantly timing their public announcements and appearances to overshadow senior members of the royal family, and that they now operate what Palace aides are describing as a hijacking diary. I think the last big thing they did was put out those pictures of their anniversary while Charles and Camilla were in Ireland on a 3-day visit. And this is just reigniting the long-standing tensions. I mean, they're constantly trying to redirect media towards themselves during important royal engagements. I myself have done multiple videos showing you guys about this and that they do this on a regular basis. Now, just to prove my point, I'm going to put a little piece in here now that came from a video that I did, 2 or 3 years ago. And we all know that a ton of stuff has happened since then. So sit back and watch this. Prince Charles was on a tour in 2016 in Omar, and the tour was completely overshadowed because right then was when Harry decided to put out a statement about his then girlfriend, warning the press to leave her alone. You have Princess Eugenie's wedding to Jack when Meghan decided that would be a good time to tell everybody she was pregnant and take over all the attention from the bride. You have the time that Camilla was launching the Women of the World Festival, and she was giving a very important speech on domestic violence. And it was at this time that Harry and Meghan released the pictures of Meghan at the National Theatre to overshadow what Camilla was doing. You have the time that William and Catherine were in Pakistan on a very important tour. And it was during the tour that Harry and Meghan decided to release an interview done while they were on their African tour weeks earlier to coincide with the Pakistan tour, where they talked about how unhappy they were. Harry and Meghan decided to announce Megxit around the time of Catherine's birthday. Harry and Meghan did the Oprah interview, and they made sure that it was broadcast to coincide with the Queen's Commonwealth address. Catherine and William were going around for Mental Health Awareness Week, and that same week was when Harry decided to appear on the Dax Shepard podcast and talk about his pain. Harry did the James Corden bus interview and made sure that it aired at the same time as the Queen giving a speech about the importance of vaccines. The day that William and Catherine touched down in the United States, Meghan decides to release a picture of Archie's face taken from a phone call. Then, during the ensuing 3 days while William and Catherine are touring, they decided that would be a good time to drop the trailer for the Netflix docuseries, the first one. Now, William and Catherine continued on with their tour, and then the next thing you know, Harry and Meghan are dropping the Invictus Games promo. It just continued. It was on Princess Eugenie's birthday that Harry announced that he was going to work for Better Up. Catherine announced when her book was coming out, so it was inevitable that Meghan made sure her book came out 3 days earlier, approximately. On the night of the Queen's 96th birthday, Harry gave an interview to Hoda where he said some very interesting things. On the day that they put up the picture of the Queen ahead of her annual Christmas speech, this is the day that Harry and Meghan decided to release a Christmas card that showed the faces of their kids for the first time. The day before Catherine's birthday was when Harry decided to sit down and do an interview for The Spare. On October 11th, as the official mourning period for the Queen came to an end, the royal family put out a picture of the new king and queen consort along with the heir apparent and his wife. Harry and Meghan then decided that they were going to release pictures from whatever the hell it was that they were doing while they were in the UK. And I think we all know that Lilibet's title was a revenge for being evicted from Frogmore. Those are not coincidences, you guys. All right, let's continue. Now, before we move on to the bigger stuff, I just wanted to touch on this article. They're saying that Princess Catherine finally reached her breaking point with Harry after he made comments about King Charles's cancer diagnosis. Apparently, she initially refused to abandon her efforts to help repair the fractured relationship between William and Harry. However, after Harry made those comments about King Charles's mortality during the May BBC interview, Catherine was like, I'm done. Finished, over, not going to help anymore. Yeah, you can't blame her. Let's move on to the Invictus Games. It's been announced that a Canadian engineering firm by the name of ATCO, ATCO, has been named the official international flag partner for the 2027 event in Birmingham. Now, apparently, they're going to drop, by the way, the games esports, pickleball, and laser run. 3 new sports, but ATCO has signed up, and it's building on their previous involvement with the Vancouver Whistler Games. And so the flag will make its journey from Canada to the UK through some expedition challenges, including mountaineering, sailing, and cycling. My question is, how much money did they have to give Invictus in order to have that honor? All right, let's move on to Australia. Apparently, remember on May 12th, they scrapped Invictus out of the federal budget, but there's been so much pressure from veterans groups that the Veterans Affairs Minister backflipped and reinstated the funding on Thursday. Now, Invictus Australia gives $3 million a year from the federal government to, programs for the people. And the Invictus Australia chief executive said the weight of veterans sharing their stories and community support were the reasons that funding was approved. I think what's happening is that they're putting the money back while they set up other things that they're going to do, because they only had 3 years worth of funding. At the end of the 3 years, the funding is going to go bye-bye again. So all right, let's move on to this weird video that came out from Meghan Markle. I don't even know what this is supposed to be, but you're putting her flowers, sprinkles, and then you're putting a stamp into it, and then I guess you have to sit and let it harden. You know how long it would take to make a lot of those? I mean, give me a break. Yeah. Let's go back now to the matchboxes. Apparently, Meghan has added limited edition matchboxes to her range of candles. Remember, they're inspired by her children. Now, she's done these weird sets. Now, the one set is called the Luxurious Standout Set, and it will cost you $256. That does not include shipping. That does not include taxes. It does not appear at this point that the matchboxes are sold separately, but they're saying that this inclusion is just another blunder on the website. Again, the signature scent collection is her son, her daughter, their anniversary, and California. Though the post that Meghan put up encourages people to join the wait list for the Matchbox, although they're already available online. The matches are included in the box set. So is there value there? No. What they're claiming is that nothing screams luxury lifestyle empire like paying $256 for a candle set that comes with some matches that is all about Meghan and her life due to her narcissism. I would prefer a lighter. And a lot of people are not stupid. They do realize, as I showed you the other day, that this stuff comes from the Alibaba and Temu websites. Come on, guys. All right, guys, it's time for the memes. I want to say a big thank you to the Veil Between Us, Krista Benson, that one, Linda, Lindsay Jones, Laird of the Manor, Revealing the Narc, The Royal Grift, and Sir Grift-a-lot. Whew, here we go.
Light a candle, burn a bridge, blame someone else. Empower your moments with the Monecito collection.
All right, you guys, you know what I want. Put those comments down, make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my father's book, which remains up for sale on Amazon, a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.